the smile that doesn't match the words. Have you ever noticed how some people say, "I'm happy for you," but something about their face tells a completely different story? They smile. They congratulate you. They may even tell you that you deserve it. But the moment you start talking about your progress, the energy changes. Their smile becomes tighter. Their questions become colder. And somehow, your good news suddenly feels uncomfortable to share. Most people assume this means someone simply dislikes them. But psychology suggests the truth can be more subtle. Sometimes people do not want you to fail. They just feel uncomfortable watching you move further ahead. Your progress can quietly remind them of the goals they postponed, the risks they avoided, or the version of themselves they have not become yet. And because envy is rarely announced directly, it often appears through small behaviors that are easy to dismiss. In this video, we'll explore 4 things people often do when they secretly feel threatened by you, and what those behaviors may really reveal about them. Sign 1. They turn your hard work into luck. The first sign is easy to miss. They turn your hard work into luck. You achieve something you have been working toward for months, and instead of acknowledging the discipline behind it, they say, "You got lucky. Maybe it was good timing. Maybe you knew the right person. Maybe everything simply worked out for you." Notice what is missing from those explanations. They rarely mention the mornings you kept going when nobody cared, the mistakes you learned from, or the consistency it took to reach that point. Calling your success luck makes your achievement easier for them to explain without giving you credit. And when this becomes a repeated pattern, pay attention. Secure people can recognize when someone earns something, even if they wish they had it too. But someone who feels threatened may constantly search for reasons your success does not count. Because admitting that you earned it can force them to confront an uncomfortable question. If your choices helped create your progress, what have their choices been creating? Why they need to call it luck? Here is why calling your success luck can feel so important to someone who secretly feels threatened by you. If they admit that your progress came from discipline, patience, and repeated effort, they may also have to admit that their own results are connected to their choices. That can be uncomfortable. It is much easier to believe you had an advantage they never had. Luck protects their self-image because it creates a simple explanation. You are ahead because circumstances favored you, not because you consistently did something they avoided doing. This does not mean every person who mentions luck is jealous. Sometimes luck plays a role. The pattern matters. If someone repeatedly ignores your effort while emphasizing every advantage you had, they may be trying to reduce the emotional distance between your progress and theirs. By making your achievement smaller, they make themselves feel less behind. So remember, when someone rewrites your effort as luck, their explanation may reveal more about how they see themselves than how they see you. Sign 2. They make you sound smaller than you are. The second sign is much harder to notice because they are not technically lying about you. Instead, they choose the smallest possible version of the truth. Imagine you spent years building a successful business, but when someone asks what you do, they casually say, "Oh, they do some stuff online." Maybe you earned a promotion, and they describe it as, "They got a different position at work." Nothing they said is completely false, but somehow, every detail that makes your achievement impressive disappears. This becomes especially revealing when they describe other people enthusiastically but consistently minimize you. And if you question it, they can easily respond, "What? I didn't say anything bad." That is what makes this behavior so difficult to confront. The words are technically accurate, but the framing quietly reduces your significance. Someone who feels threatened by you may do this because describing you accurately would force them to acknowledge how far you have come. Making your story smaller helps them feel bigger beside it. Sign 3. Everything becomes a competition. The third sign is when almost everything you share somehow becomes a competition. You mention that you started exercising, and suddenly they need to tell you how much harder they train. You say you finished a book, and they remind you they read it years ago. You share a small win at work, and within seconds, the conversation shifts towards something they achieved that sounds even bigger. The strange part is that you were never competing with them. You were simply sharing your life. But someone who secretly feels threatened may experience your progress as a scoreboard. Every improvement you make creates a gap they feel pressured to close. That is why even ordinary conversations can become exhausting. Instead of celebrating your moment, they immediately search for a way to restore their position. Healthy relationships do not require one person to become smaller so another can feel important. When someone constantly needs to match, beat, or overshadow your experiences, pay attention. They may not be sharing with you anymore. They may be measuring themselves against you. Why conversations with them feel exhausting. This is why conversations with certain people can leave you feeling strangely exhausted. Even when nothing openly negative was said, you share something because you want connection, but they hear comparison. You talk about progress, and they immediately start measuring where they stand beside you. Suddenly, a normal conversation becomes an invisible scoreboard. Who earns more? Who works harder? Who knows more? Who is further ahead? The problem is not simply that they enjoy talking about themselves. It is that your wins can feel like evidence that they are falling behind. So every time you move forward, they feel pressure to prove they are still equal or better. Over time, you may even start making yourself smaller without realizing it. You downplay achievements, avoid sharing good news, or carefully choose your words so they do not become uncomfortable. But healthy relationships should never require you to hide your growth. The right people can celebrate your progress without treating it as a threat to their own worth. Sign 4. They want your plans before they become real. The fourth sign is one of the most revealing. They seem fascinated by your plans until those plans actually start working. Before you begin, they want every detail. What are you going to do? When will you start? How much could you make? What happens if it fails? Their curiosity can feel like genuine support because they keep asking questions. But then something strange happens. You finally launch the project. You get your first result. Maybe the opportunity becomes real. Suddenly, their interest disappears. The person who once wanted every detail now gives you a short that's nice and quickly changes the subject. Pay attention to that shift. Genuine supporters usually become more interested when your effort starts producing results. They ask how it is going. They celebrate the small wins. They want to see what happens next. But someone who feels threatened may enjoy your dream while it is still uncertain. Once it becomes evidence that you are actually moving forward, the conversation can become uncomfortable for them. Watch what happens after you win. One of the clearest ways to understand someone's intentions is to notice what happens after your plans become results. Before success, uncertainty makes everything feel safe. Your idea might work, but it might also fail. You are still experimenting, still learning, still somewhere close to where they expect you to be. But once your effort begins producing visible results, that uncertainty disappears. Now your progress is real. And for someone who has been quietly comparing themselves to you, that reality can feel uncomfortable. This is why their enthusiasm may suddenly fade precisely when you finally have something worth celebrating. Compare that with people who genuinely support you. They do not disappear after the win. They become curious. They ask what you learned, what happens next, and how you feel about the progress you made. So do not judge support only by who listens to your dreams. Pay closer attention to who remains excited when those dreams start becoming your reality. Success has a strange way of revealing the difference. What secret envy is really about. Here is the deeper truth behind all four signs. Their reaction may have much less to do with you than you think. Sometimes people feel threatened by your progress because it reminds them of the person they hoped they would become. Your discipline can remind them of the habits they abandoned. Your confidence can highlight the doubts they still carry. Your success can bring attention to goals they postponed for years. That does not automatically make them bad people. Envy is often an uncomfortable response to comparison, especially when someone feels dissatisfied with their own direction. But understanding this does not mean you should shrink yourself to protect their feelings. You cannot solve someone else's insecurity by becoming less successful. less confident, or less visible. Their internal struggle belongs to them. Your responsibility is to recognize the pattern without allowing it to change how you see yourself. Sometimes your growth is not hurting them. It is simply showing them a distance within their own life they would rather not see. Stop shrinking yourself to make them comfortable. The most important thing to remember is that you do not need to become smaller just because your growth makes someone else uncomfortable. You do not have to hide your goals, downplay your achievements, or apologize for becoming more confident. But you also do not need to confront everyone who seems threatened by you. Sometimes the wiser response is simply to observe. Share your plans with people who have earned your trust. Let your actions speak before your intentions become public. And most importantly, notice who stays supportive after things begin going well. The right people will not need you to fail so they can feel successful. They will celebrate your progress without turning it into a comparison. They will ask questions without secretly hoping your plans collapse. So keep building, keep growing. Let other people manage their own feelings about your success. If this video gave you a new perspective, comment the number 1 below. Let's see how many people are ready to stop shrinking for others.